Only thing that matters is the ending. It's the most important part of the story. And this one is very good. This one is perfect.
For Mort Rainey, every story is a window into another world. But some windows should never be opened.
You stole my story.
I don't believe I know you.
I know you, Mr. Rainey. That's what matters. You stole my story.
Kind of an amazing coincidence. The stories being so much alike.
Her death will be a mystery. Jot down his head. The guy calls himself Shooter.
Maybe my name's not Shooter.
Hello?
Remember my story, Secret Window. You and me are the only people that know about that, right?
You scared too easy.
You're up there all alone. Anything could happen and nobody would know.
What do you want from me?
My ending. I want you to fix it.
I don't think Shooter's just some nut.
I'd like to know what I'm dealing with here.
You don't know.
I will burn your life and every person in it like a cane field in a high wind.
The only thing that matters is the ending. The most important part of the story, the ending.
Welcome to another edition of the Pop Culture History Podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today is my boy, Promo League entry on the Max Wrestling Podcast, my friend, the one and only Mr. Robert Davis. Robert Davis, are you ready to talk some Secret Window?
Oh boy, let's talk some Secret Window, Mike.
Oh, dude, first and foremost, after rewatching that trailer and having that play, for me, here's a funny story about it. Now, I'll say this. Wow, when that movie came out, I was hooked. I wanted to see it. What's actually funny is back in the days of Blockbuster, I actually rented two movies, and it was actually here in Myrtle Beach. I rented Secret Window and The Medallion with Jackie Chan and Claire Forlani. So there's a mixture for you. You got the comedy aspect with The Medallion and Secret Window. I watched this movie first, and I got to say, from start to finish, I was hooked. So I got to ask you, Robert Davis, when you first saw Secret Window, what did you think, and what were your overall thoughts when you went into this movie? I mean, this movie already, March 12th, 2004. I mean, we're coming upon 16 years since this movie first aired.
Yeah, you know what? I actually saw this movie on DVD first. The girl I was dating at the time, we were at the Redbox or whatever, and we were just kind of scoping out movies, and I was like, "Oh, let's give that a shot." Johnny Depp, can't go wrong there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching it, and I was just smiling from ear to ear. I loved everything about the movie, and the girl that I was dating at the time, she was just looking at me like, you crazy guy. What the hell? Like, she wasn't into it, but I mean, I loved it. It was great. And the fact that it's been 16 years,
Mm-hmm.
wow. I think it still holds up to today.
Oh, I agree. I'll be honest. It's one of my favorite Johnny Depp films. It's very underrated. And for me, I'll be honest with you, watching John Turturro in this role, like for me, John Turturro and his brother Nick are like, again, famous actors. But for me, around this time period, so I was going on 12 years old when this movie came out. So what's interesting is 2 years prior, I remember seeing John Turturro and Adam Sandler's Mr. Deeds as the butler. In the morning, I will change your socks. And I also remember him in Anger Management as Chuck, his friend that was a part of the anger management class that was starting the guy with the blind guy at the with the blind guy at the bar. So I remember him as the comedy role. So this was like my first. This was like my first encounter. I know he's done serious roles before, but in this, for me as a kid, like his first serious role, and I got to say, I was intrigued because it starts out with the movie. You have him. Here's the thing. It starts off with his wife has an affair with, Ted, right? But for me, I would have to say throughout the movie, and let's just talk about this here, this has an effect, obviously, because anyone that's been through a breakup, an affair, anything that's really volatile or very, heartbreaking in a relationship, you can feel for everybody involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And having watched this again a couple of weeks ago, because I hadn't seen it in probably 10, 12 years, and there was definitely a lot that resonated with me the second time around watching it. And as I'm watching it, I'm just looking at guys like Ted, and I'm just like, oh, fuck you, dude, you suck. But there's definitely moments in this movie. Like I had no idea he was the butler in Mr. Deeds. That's funny that you say that, because that's such a diverse jump in characters.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like we're talking about jumping characters, and this also resonates with pop culture. Like for me, when you think of Jim Carrey, you think of comedy, right? Like you think of The Mask, you think of Ace Ventura, you think of The Cable Guy, you think of Me, Myself, and Irene. You think of pretty much any Jim Carrey movie, Liar Liar, for instance. When he did, and what's funny is when this movie came out in '04, 3 years after that, the number 23 came out with Jim Carrey. Like for me, watching him try to play like a serious role with like a dark mind and how everything kind of goes in and wraps around the number 23, for me it was kind of iffy, because I'm like, this is not the Jim Carrey that I know. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to see one transition from like a funny comedic role, and then here comes Jim Carrey over here in the number 23 doing a serious role, if that makes sense.
Exactly. I remember the number 23 as well. And, I remember having kind of the same thought. I was just like, how is he really going to pull this off because of what he's known for? And, just what we've known him for. And, like, he pulled that off magnificently. That movie was another good one, too.
And also the girl that you were dating at the time, you know what it is too. Here's what I think, and for me, it's also been around relationships and being with friendships with overall females in the opposite sex. It's one of those things where a lot of girls don't get like the psychological thriller. Like for me, I was all about. Remember in school reading When the Wind Blows for summer reading my sophomore year in high school, right? Like I like the James Patterson books and the Cross books, Alex Cross, that whole series. Like for me, I could get into something that's very crime related, something to do with author that really has that thriller aspect to it, and for me, like a lot of these intrigue me. And also, if you kind of look at it today, look at the shows that they have on Investigation Discovery, because it really shows the way the mind works, the way people work, and it shows these like kind of horrific and these unimaginable events that take occurrence. And it's just like, you know what, things like this can actually happen in everyday life.
Oh, yeah. And to be honest with you, when I saw this movie the first time, I was a young man. I was only maybe 20, 21 years old. So, add 15 years to that, and it's definitely changed. I was a bit insane as a younger man. I'm still insane as a older man, but to less of an extent, of course. But yeah, man, I totally agree.
I was about to say, you crazy as a younger man and older man. Don't we know it, man?
Oh boy.
Oh, snap. Oh, but you know what's interesting too is so he's all right. Now I remember I totally forgot rewatching it. I'm like that he had like who was the woman? Like the woman that was in the house with him taking care of him and the whole nine, when he has like all this writer's block. And by the way, as someone who is from New York, my God, upstate New York, just in the middle of nowhere. Like I got to ask you about his house and that whole night thing. Just living out like right in the woods and just living out really high up in New York, upstate, away from everybody, man. That's seclusion right there.
Yeah, man. I think, and it's funny because I noticed that the first time I watched it when I was younger, of course, I was just like, man, that's gotta suck. But now I'm watching it, from a couple weeks ago, I'm just like, man, he's got the right idea.
Oh, agreed. And also from his perspective, from an author's perspective, you want to have like the most concentration that you have to writing a book, to telling a story. You don't want to have any outside forces or any energy involved that, can hinder you from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of relating it to myself being a musician, an art form of its own, having just kind of that seclusion and just kind of blocking out all the noise, it's really beneficial. And I never really thought about it that way. Well, as a young man, I wasn't really thinking anyway. But that's definitely something. He was onto something there.
Oh, of course. And I also look at it, by the way, also I had written down, look at the house, man. He's in his robe. There's like Doritos chips everywhere. There's cigarettes, and it's just like I think the woman that was in the house with him was like, you got to quit this. You know, he didn't quit. He just kept smoking. He kept with chips, not just from a writer standpoint, but I guess again the relationship, which we'll touch upon later in the story. But the relationship that he was going through, the divorce and everything that was going, his world was kind of crashing down. Not just besides the fact that he had writer's block.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another thing I kind of related to, watching it later in life, that sometimes artists can be very stubborn. I'm very stubborn myself, especially when it comes to my art and my form and what I do, and just that outside influence, and you just kind of brush it off, kind of like you did. He was kind of hiding the cigarette from her when she would go back upstairs, and she asked him, "Oh, do you want to make, can I make you a sandwich or whatever?" And he's sticking the cigarette in the drawer. I was like, "Oh, dude, oh man, this resonates so much with older me."
And then we see the whole thing, and really we have the whole scenario here painted that he has writer's block. And for me, here's what made me laugh, and I want to talk to you about this because I think we've all had this dream where it seems like we're falling like from a very high place. Like I think his was like it's like a cliff, like a mountain. He's just falling down, and then you wake up, and then you just boom, you crash yourself onto your floor or falling off the bed, what have you. But I think a lot of us can relate to that dream, and that's just a little nuance that I thought was very funny.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had one myself where I'm sitting at the end of Golden Gate Bridge, and I try to get up to get off, and then I just end up slipping and falling to what I thought was my death, but it just ended up being my bedroom floor.
Yeah, we've all been there. That is just a little nuances. And then he gets up. My favorite, Chico, don't be discouraged. Still cracks me up to this.
Yeah.
So then we find out he gets to the door, and then here comes John Turturro, Shooter, talk about you stole my
My
story.
story.
You stole my story. And then it turns out that he has this. Oh my God, what was the name of the short story? Okay, so I think his was called Sewing Season or something like that. I think it had a name, but I do remember it's identical to Secret Window. So for you, watching John Turturro when he first comes to the door, what are your thoughts and just overall seeing the fact that, it turns out that he has like a crazed fan that he dealt with in the past. So talking about this and seeing John Turturro in this role with the black hat, looking as only as he can look, the country from Mississippi, the whole nine thing. What did you think about the whole plagiarizing thing and how this was going to lead into the story?
One thing that I actually didn't notice the first time that I noticed on the second time, that this is actually a Stephen King book.
Damn.
I did not notice that the first time, and I was just like, that explains a lot. But the second he opened that door and Shooter started in on him, I was just like, I mean, I kind of picked up on it kind of quick. I was just like, oh, this dude's crazy. He's talking to like a multiple personality or something. Has to be. But then as the story started to progress, it was kind of throwing me off. I was like, okay, maybe this is legit. Okay, maybe it's actually a real person. He's not crazy. But then, as you know, it ends up being, something that's in his head. And just the second once he, there was just everything from that opening line, and I was just so hooked after that. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the Stephen King reference because this is very Stephen King-esque. I believe his book was Secret Window, Secret Garden, if I remember that correctly. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. The Stephen King influence on this is amazing. And then obviously afterwards, he kills poor Chico. He's dead outside the cabin. And then we find out that he had written this story 2 years prior to what Shooter was referring to. So it's like, how can this be your story? I wrote it before this. So it's very interesting. And then we get to, obviously, like we mentioned, the scene with the dog. He kills the dog. And then he goes to his wife's house. And here's the thing. If I remember this correctly, it's one of the things where here's what popped me because Charles S. Dutton, who was Rock, for those that remember the series Rock, him as the detective. What'd you think about him as the detective?
Yeah, that was kind of like, oh wow, that's Rock. I was kind of tripping on that because that puts us at what, very early '90s.
Yep. I still remember that one. I believe it was him and Clifton Powell, where he's like shoving him up against the door. Oh man, very powerful stuff. And then I mean, he's the private investigator in this. He speaks to that dude. Oh God, remember Tom Greenleaf? Good God,
Tom Greenleaf. Tom Greenleaf. Good Lord.
Good God, that he's a local resident. You may have seen Shooter and Mort talking together, but this is one of those things where he. It's very funny because he's an older gentleman, and the fact that he sees them talking, he winds up getting killed as well. But for me, when you look at the fact that we have the private investigator trying to figure things out, for me in this perspective, I love when they're talking on the phone. He goes, do you have an enemy? And he goes, well, Ted, Amy's Ted. And then he goes, well, did you piss him off? And then it flashes back to him pointing the gun and yelling at him. I might have. Yeah, I might.
Yeah, I might have.
For me is also, it gets me to thinking about where they go to the house. Now, first and foremost, I got to say this: their actual house, that was a very nice house. Again, as someone being from New York, not from upstate, but I can appreciate that was a badass house that they used to live in.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, that's an amazing looking house. Hope nothing happens to it.
And then, well, as we know, the fire burns, man. And I'm not talking about Kill Switch Engage. I'm talking about he's driving up. He gets the phone call, our house burnt down. He's kind of shocked and stunned to hear about it. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife anymore. And I mean, that tells you something right there, because the inner psyche, the inner thoughts that he's going through, and also that when he's like coming out in the robe and he's shaving and he's reminiscing about the good old days being in that house. Like I said, is that kind of like an inkling and kind of what stares into your mind? Like there might be something more to this than just, Shooter stealing his story.
Yeah. You could kind of see the emotion and kind of everything that's been kind of going on up to that point. Even once they get into the lawyer's office and they're talking about the divorce papers and just that overall tension. Like, I remember watching this the second time around when I watched it a couple of weeks ago. I'm just like, yelling at the screen, punch that dude, punch him in the face. He deserves it.
Okay. Now, as someone who's had parents that were divorced, and I've had friends that have had people that were being divorced, I'll be honest with you. He had no right to look at those assets.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, keep your ass off looking at my assets, dude.
Well, that's the thing too. And he's like, maybe I should have a say. No, maybe I should have a say. No, you don't. I mean, like, you're not. I mean, you're the guy now. You're her boyfriend, significant other, what have you. But it's like you have no say in what goes on here. And then he's like, I love it. Hey Ted, why don't you take a walk around the block? Maybe 2. You're a rubbernecker. It's just. Dude, like that just stuff that pisses me off. And me, like you said, punch that dude. Like from the beginning, I was not a fan of Ted. And also, what pissed me off too? I also wanted to see him just get his, because they're at the friggin' house with the fire. And here comes Ted over there. And I'm like, fucking Ted. He is just such the guy that is just so hateable and unlikable in this. And he's like, I apologize. I never made for any of this to happen, which we'll get to in a little bit. But it's like, bro, you know what I'm saying? You know what you're doing, even though she said, I didn't, maybe you didn't see. Well, here's the fun part. Maybe he didn't see the wedding ring around the finger. You know what you were doing, man. You got the wedding ring on the finger. If you don't stop, go ahead, Robert. I'm sorry, I'm ranting.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm just like, you didn't know what you were doing. And just the opening scenes of the movie prove, dude, you knew what you were doing. Knock it off.
Oh, of course. And for me, it's one of those things too, where it's like, he has like the hat, he has the stuff. They meet at the cliff. This is the Tom Greenleaf looking back to where he gets killed. And obviously, unfortunately, the private investigator gets killed. Like for me, and then dumping the bodies over the cliff into the water to his truck pretty much going downhill. What were your thoughts about that whole thing?
That one was just kind of like, oh, wow. Because I know he was supposed to meet up with them at the diner and they didn't show up.
Yep.
And I was just kind of like, what the hell? What could have happened? And then he goes and he finds him dead in his truck. One thing that kind of stuck out to me when Shooter and Mort and they were on the hill and Greenleaf drove by and he waved to him.
Yep.
And I was just kind of like, and that kind of put me in the mind frame again that, oh, okay, Shooter can't be real. And sure enough, as we find out later, Shooter isn't real, and he, it was just Mort up there by himself. So I just really like the fact how this story kind of takes you into these frame of minds, like, kind of you get to put your own conclusions to things before they actually happen.
Of course. And for me, by the way, you were talking about the diner and stuff. Man, that was like an old time, like the store, and you can get like soup and stuff. Like that's an old school diner, was what that was. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, trying to meet him there, trying to meet him wherever, and then you get to where we got, like you mentioned with the cliff, him standing by himself. For me, I was like engaged, I was enthralled, but I'm like, man, like I'm curious just to see, like you were mentioned, like maybe it's not all in his head. Maybe let's see where this goes. And then we get there, man. And one of the things that's great about it is like okay, for me with Ted and Amy, with his wife and the whole nine there, the conversation that they had where, he's like, what do you think would have happened if we wouldn't have lost the baby? And now that's the thing with me. I didn't know that they lost the baby. We didn't know nothing about this situation that they had as a couple wise, except for the fact that she cheated on him with this dude. Now, what did you think of that entire conversation, just that entire heated conversation that they had on the phone and having these conversations?
Yeah, that was just kind of like, oh, damn, 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 damn.
Damn.
Yeah, that one was just, I wasn't expecting that. I don't think anybody was, to be honest, but that was just like an oh damn kind of moment. And you know that that's another part that kind of resonated because I know people that have been in that situation and dealing with that. So that was just kind of like an art imitating life kind of thing, and just like to see how that applies to reality. That's just kind of like, oh wow, it does happen.
Oh yeah, and the thing for me too is like, and also around this time, and I'm gonna say this because he goes to get the book that he ordered from like the FedEx, the delivery there. I'm gonna say this right now: the girl there was cute, and we're gonna touch upon her too, just because at the end it's hilarious. But the girl there is cute, and you could tell like she has an interest in him. Or what did you think about the girl at the delivery girl as well at the UPS or FedEx, whatever the hell that was?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting too, because you could kind of tell Mort wasn't really all that there, and she was kind of interested, and he was just like not even not even about it.
Nah, man, I gotta get this book so I don't get killed. The whole nine there, exactly. Then he gets the book, and then the story is cut out of the magazine. And the whole thing. You son of a bitch. You cut
Yeah,
the
the page is missing. I was just like, oh, and it's funny because I said the same thing. I was like, oh, you son of a bitch.
he cut the story out of the magazine. And then he's thinking about, wait, why would he do that? I don't know. And then he's thinking in his head, like, why would he do that? So it plants the seeds again of like this dude's got like a multiple personality thing. But what also was interested in me, and I want to talk about one of the other characters. What you think about the sheriff?
The sheriff, yeah, that was kind of different, but I felt that it kind of fit the story, being the town with it being small and having that old school kind of sheriff kind of vibe. That I thought that was kind of cool.
Paul, thing that he's going through with nine. Yeah, for me, I just okay. Robert, you're back.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
All right, as I was rambling there for a little bit, I was just saying it really shows the relation. I was asking you about the sheriff, and I was just saying it really shows the overall psychological aspect from his mind. It really just shows what he's going through each and every one of events. As I started to ramble before we got cut out a little. So
Yeah,
one of those things I just gotta add is, what did you think about the sheriff in there?
I felt the sheriff, it played an important part in the story. It Are we cutting out again?
No, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. uh, just with the old school vibe of the city, and it has that old school sheriff. Is kind of an older guy, Sheriff Newsom, I believe his name was.
Yep.
Um, I thought it was just a really cool part of the story to have just that kind of old school vibe.
Oh, agreed. And for me, it's one of those things where like you're going through each and every one of this with Mort, with Ted, and with Amy. So for me, is like when he asks him, and here's what makes me laugh, and why you almost think it's Ted, just because of the thing. I always thought you were from Mississippi. No, I'm from Tennessee, a little place called Shooters
Shooters
Bay. And now,
Bay. Yeah.
now when you heard that. Did you think that it was Ted that put this dude up to it to go after him, or what were your thoughts when at first you heard Shooters Bay?
Yeah, the second I heard Shooters Bay, I was just like, "Oh, you dirty motherfucker! You did this. This is all on you. You sob."
Yeah, and then it would turns out like he's gonna go talk to him about this, and then they're at the gas station. Okay, the gas station scene cracks me up still as well because he's like, you know what, you son of a bitch, and he knows he's onto him, and the best that he. I'm trying so hard not to laugh, but it's one of those things where it's like, I buried my dog, mister. I buried my dog. And, and then he goes, why don't you go tell this to your dirty, filthy little friend? He goes to punch him, and he punches right
Punches
off.
on the window. Oh man.
Oh, you know what? I don't like confrontations, Ted. It makes me feel icky. Then he shoves him. Oh, it's just that whole thing. It makes me feel icky. Go ahead, Robert.
It's funny because that was probably supposed to be like a serious scene, and I was laughing hysterically just because of that's probably how it would have really went. Like that, there was nothing intimidating about any of that at all.
Absolutely not. But it's one of those things where here's the thing. I'm watching as she's going to go over there, and I'm thinking to myself, why? Because you know what it is too, and I understand. Well, that was the point. Now, here's what pissed me off because he's got a lot of this crap going on, but also what kind of pissed me. I don't know if it irked you a little, but all she wants him to do is sign the divorce papers. Now, for his standpoint, I could say, it's a rough thing to go through, and he's got a lot going on in his mind. But all she cared about was the goddamn divorce papers.
Yeah, just kind of that in particular. I've gone through a divorce myself, and it's not easy. So, watching this movie again, there was definitely a lot of things that resonated. The second time around, and you could kind of feel for certain characters in certain situations. Not so much Ted. Fuck Ted. You punch him in the face, but. Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand where she was coming from, where Mort's coming from, but Ted sucks.
Yes. And looking back at the photos and looking back at the itinerary from the movie, did you also notice that when they're in like the truck, like his wristwatch is accidentally ripped off while he's doing? Did you see the watch come off?
That that was that was scary. I thought he was gonna die because when his watch got hooked up, I was just like, oh, story can't end like this. What the hell?
Like, you can't have him dying going off there. But yeah, unfortunately, it does not end like that. But what's interesting is, like, again, he's reflecting back. And I know we're getting towards the end of the movie here, but it's one of those things where top to bottom, I'm invested. What's going on here? Is it Ted? Who's doing this? We see the confrontation. I buried my dog, mister, and punch in the window. The rubbernecking, everything from the sheriff to everybody involved, from the private investigator, from Tom Griefly. People are dead. People are dying. It's scary. He's warning him not to go to the police. But here's the thing that happens. So she goes straight to get to the source there, get the divorce papers. And I believe he had her from him. So here comes Ted. They're in there. He's reflecting back to it, and he's thinking, "Why would he do that?" What did you think first and foremost before Amy even gets to the house? What did you think of the two Johnny Depps were talking about? Why would he do that? And he's trying to like block it out by like barking. And I'm like, "What? Like you're barking?" And I'm like, "What's going on here?" So, what did you think about the two of them, like the split personalities, finally coming into fruition and seeing what we got there?
Yeah, so through the course of the movie, you're just kind of throwing off on what's going on, and everything's kind of coming full circle, and I'm just like, oh, all right, this dude's crazy. He's talking to himself now. He's having this identity crisis. Maybe he is the shooter.
And that's the thing too, man. Like he's looking back at the magazine, he's looking back at everything. He puts on the hat to try to make sense of it. And for me, I always crack up because I see, hey, look at me, I'm a dairy farmer from Mississippi, and just the fact that they're there, and that cracks me up. Just I'm a dairy farmer from Mississippi.
Yeah.
And it proves that he suffers from, and I believe it's a thing. It's DID, dissociative identity
disorder. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Oh man, and that's the thing, like reading back in this and like we're talking about it now, like I didn't even know that there was like such a thing. Like here's the thing, and I'll put this to a wrestling perspective and people know where I'm gonna go with this, and this will make you laugh. Like when Randy Orton had IED back in like 2009 for his explanation of why he attacked Stephanie McMahon and Vince McMahon going into the WrestleMania 25 match at Triple H. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that intermittent explosive disorder was an actual thing. I did it because
I didn't either. So,
and that's the thing. Like, I never knew that was an actual thing, but apparently it actually is. And people suffer from some intermittent explosive disorder. They can't control their rage. But yeah, man, it's one of those things where so he has this dissociative identity disorder. He's carried out the way of killing everybody from his dog Greenleaf and the private investigator, as well as arson and burning down the house. Yes. So she comes. The words Shooter are carved all over the walls and the furniture. What were your thoughts of seeing Shooter and then just the shutting of the door and he's got the hat on and he's got in that mindset and she screams, "Oh, take me through it."
Yeah. So once I saw Shooter kind of carved everywhere, it was just kind of like an oh shit moment. Just the whole Shooter thing kind of provided some inspiration for a Promo League character, which we can get into later. It just kind of the fact that it brought everything full circle. And one thing I kind of like about Stephen King and his books and his movies is that everything kind of comes full circle towards the end. Like you kind of get the who, what, when, where, why, and everything just kind of has that nice little bow tied up, and you kind of get your answers to all those questions because this is one of those movies where like there was more questions than answers, but once it gets towards the end of the movie, you get all those answers and then some.
Oh, and one other thing I meant to point out as we're going through the film here, when he's talking to the delivery girl, the driver, not delivery driver, I keep saying delivery driver, the FedEx chick, you know what I'm saying, the UPS, what have you. They do deliveries, they do packages, the whole nine. But for me, what cracked me up was, I saw what you did, and then he's like, "Excuse me?" He said they shoot me if I did. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Cracks me up every time, but it's one of the little nuances, man. But then it has the whole thing where it's talking about shoot her, like instead of shoot her. They go through the house. She's chasing them. She falls, hits him with the shovel, smashes Ted with the shovel, and then he's reciting the end of it to kill her. And then he just is like the shovel, the whole nine, taking care of Amy and Ted. What did you think about the justice that was served at the end?
I kind of felt for Amy.
Me too.
That was kind of an unfortunate way to go out. But the second he hit Ted, I was just like, yeah, hit him again.
Same here. And now I'll be honest with you, I felt for her too. And now, if I remember correctly, she had like the blood. I think was it her ankle? He stabbed her like right in the ankle.
Yeah, he stabbed her in the ankle. That was kind of cringe. But I was just like, oh, oof, ugh.
Ugh. Now here's the thing. Then it's the next day. He's going into town, and here comes another one of my favorite parts. He sees the girl, and he's like, "I got braces," and he smiles with
yes,
the braces. And I'll be honest with you. As soon as I saw that, rewatching it and looking at the images and just the overall imagery of it, I'm like, yeah, that's not creepy at all. Just hey, I got braces.
Hey, braces. Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. I was just like, wow, that's not creepy at all.
And then she runs for her life because she's like, I don't want to part of this, And everybody, you can tell it's very unsettling and it's very unnerving when he goes in there. And then the sheriff tells him that he's the prime suspect in the supposed murders. He's eventually going to be caught. He can't come into town. We're going to find the bodies. There's no doubt about it. We are going to put you away for life, man. And so he starts talking about, the most important part of the story is the ending. And then he recites the end of it, you know, and then Tom, her death will be a mystery even to me. Then he bites the corn.
And then it just kind of pans to the cornfield,
Yes.
kind of indicating where the bodies are. And Mort's just up there eating his corn, man.
Now that's the thing, isn't that cool? Now not what I mean by cool is like it's just a very interesting how he buries him in the cornfield, eats the corn. Like, is he eating like something like, you know, just to get in the cornfield? It's very imagery and very fascinating just to see what the hell happened in that cornfield, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Just the whole idea of that, you know, he's eating away at the evidence,
Thank you.
so to speak. That, you know, in time, their deaths will be a mystery, even to him.
Oh, it's just, and that's the thing. Like, you know what's funny about it too is, and I forgot to mention, like when they were talking about like the story, you know, the plagiarism act, and he goes, "Amy, remember my book Secret Window?" And she goes, "Yeah, not one of my favorites." Isn't that also kind of something that's telling about it?
Yeah. I forgot about that part myself.
Oh man, but yeah, the whole entire movie as we've gone through it, it has its twists and turns. And I'm going to say this, people, right now: if you've never seen Secret Window by Johnny Depp, very underrated. And for me, I think a lot of people should check it out if you haven't, because I think you can agree with me, one of his best works. I'm not saying it is his best work because he's had so many great films. We were talking about this last night in chat with our girl Nicola: The Ninth Gate, Sweeney Todd, Edward Scissorhands. We could be here all day with Johnny Depp films, but for me, this one ranks high up there for me just for the overall suspense and thriller and the overall real life adaptations that we see in it.
Oh yeah, definitely. This one is definitely up there, and you know, I can see how this would definitely get looked over. And you know, had I not been standing at a red box in, you know, December of 2006, you know, I probably would have never seen it myself. But you know, this one is definitely up there. You know, just like we were talking about in the chat last night, you know, the power trio of Johnny Depp, Tim Burton, and Helena Bonham Carter. Like, that's the team right there. But even before that team got together, Johnny Depp, you know, he did some really, really, really cool stuff, and this was one of them.
It was, and people go out of your way, even though it's 16 years old, it's still one of the absolute best films of Johnny Depp. And for me, I got to say this about you because it had a little bit of experience because you brought to it as we just analyzed, dissected, and deciphered, and really pretty much reminisced about the movie. One of my favorite things about you and the promo league that we do for Max Wrestling Podcast, because Robert, besides being an artist, like you mentioned, you do a lot of great promo work, and you're probably one of the most creative people I know. So for me, how Mort Rainey is your character with the shooter, not just because of the fact that he writes it and the overall what's really encompassed by the character, how oriented based is the Mort Rainey into your shooter character?
It took a lot from it. When I started to branch off and do this character, you know, one thing that that stuck out, you know, I would always hear people use the phrase, "Oh, I'm a straight shooter. I'm a straight shooter," and then, you know, just the word shooter kind of triggered something back to the Secret Window, and I was just like, what if I can make a character based around Mort Rainey and just call it the shooter? You know, it's not a character I've used very much. You know, the main two that I use are, you know, the Stat Man and you know, Crazy Eyes the Collector. But you know, I've definitely got a story to tell with the shooter, so maybe we'll see some of that.
Stat man, not a scat man. He's Robert Davis. Do 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 dee, do 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 da. So, what's amazing about also the shooter thing? It's also kind of reminds me of, so when I was a kid, right? One of the main things that they had with the Ring of Honor interviews, it used to be called the straight shooting series. Like, you have straight shooting with this superstar, that superstar. So I can see, and also it applies to wrestling because that's the term. Like, you're going to shoot on somebody, like, or shoot in the breeze, shoot in the shit, however you want to define it. But like, when it turns into a shoot, and everybody I know likes to use those terms because it makes them feel cool, but it's just one of those things where it's just like, I get it, but it's like, all right. And I mean, it's a common term. I'm not saying that, but it's just like, it's more for people that are actually in the biz, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, because you know, since, you know, we have more access to those people in the business, you know, a lot of people like to feel cool, so to speak, by using those terms like mark, shooter, you know, whatever. we have a lot more access to that, and you know, people. You're right. People do use it just to sound cool.
And that's the thing too, man. It's like when CM Punk was talking about, I don't even want to use pipe bomb anymore because it's turned into a thing. Like I say pipe bomb, and everybody says pipe bomb. But it's one of those things, Robert, that also stands out to me because what we're doing with Max Wrestling in the promo league, the last episode, which will be out soon as well as we're recording this, I recorded that one yesterday. I had Corey on, aka Cypher. He's another one. Like as a musician, as you both are, he's a rapper. You do your thing in the rock genre, the realm. I think it's cool because I think for the two of you, and I'm not saying right now, but in the future, I think you two would have have a great dynamic because you're both musicians, you're both very creative, and I think it will show and grow each and every time that we do more of these promos in the promo league, Robert.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's actually really cool about our group. We have so many diverse individuals. We can probably form our own band just with the promo league entrance, and just the fact that we're gonna have that to lean back on as well. That there's gonna be another avenue that we can create, and just to have that avenue as opposed to what we're doing in the promo league is really cool because we'll be able to kind of shine those talents. Poor Daz won't have to go looking for music and getting slapped with copyrights. When he's got a full army of musicians at his disposal that can create.
Now, I'm going to ask you about the promo league, and this will be like a little appetizer because, Robert, I want to have you on Max Wrestling in the hot seat when we discuss the promo league. But one thing, I just want to give an appetizer and ask you about some of the participants, if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, here we go. One I have to start with because she is my fellow co-host and she is one of my favorite people on this show. Man, we got Brittany Savage. For those that don't know Brittany Savage, former tag team partner of Miss April, aka AJ Lee, and WSU. She's been a part of NYWC as the Starlet Champion. She has been on SmackDown wrestling Beth Phoenix in November of 2009. She has worked with the likes of Mercedes Martinez, Heidi Lovelace, who would go on to be Ruby Riott, Sue Young, Rebby Sky, Jillian Hall, Angelina Love, Velvet Sky. Brittany Savage has been in with some of the greats and some recognizable names. So I got to ask you, out of the people that are in this promo league, which we'll discuss, for you, how cool is it that we have actually someone who's been in the business, who's wrestled, who started in 2009? Now, mind you, she is retired, but has that experience and knowledge of the business, getting to see what she does in her promo game, and which we'll see this coming week on Max as she takes on Travis the Walker Anderson. Go ahead, Robert.
I think it's great. I think I was telling you and Nicola this the other day. Those of us that are in the league, we're all just fans. She's been a part of the business. So not only is she going to bring our A game, but that's going to force us to bring our A game because we're, going to be competing against somebody who knows the business as opposed to us just being fans and just doing this for, a laugh at each other mostly. But, I'm excited that she's here. She's probably going to bring out the best in some of us, having done these promos for a couple of years now, I've been able to bring out the best in some certain people, but I think Brittany's going to take it to a whole nother level.
Oh, I can't wait. And I think with her, it's like she can be short, straight and to the point, which I know you like a lot of those promos, short, straight and to the point. Now, for me, I'll say it because we love this term, buck wild. I could get buck wild in and I could go long, but I'm going to tell you something right now, and I think you can attest with this with me before we get to the other competitors here. Like, for me, I think you could tell because I'm just, in a way, batshit crazy, and I like to be serious. I like to be a goofball. I like to have fun with it. If I go 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I have you hooked.
Yeah, definitely.
Not to toot my own horn, but I mean, I like to entertain the people.
Toot, motherfucker, but yeah, but even you've come a long way from the first promo competition to this last one where you just dominated everybody is a complete night and day difference.
Hey, man, I'll be honest with you, and I've said this, like, when we started doing those with the promo league, and not the promo league, the promo climax, the first one of those things was, again, I don't know anybody. So it's like, I don't know how to promote some people that I don't know. So it's one of those things, like, when I first went against Teddy, I was like, okay, he raps. So I'm going to say something about rapping and being a rapper. So I have something to go by. But yeah, no, once I got to know everybody and in our little knit in our group, and I love everybody in that chat, and we all like to compete with each other and ourselves. But yeah, no, man, as the promo championship with my reign last year, like I say, I got to change nothing. I got to say this. Like you and Nicola, and I say this with Podcast Promo Rumble 5, y'all did your thing. And we'll talk about Travis and Moses in a second. But from Travis and Moses and then what we had at Promo Mania, these last events that we've had with Max from the promo standpoint have been absolutely great. And I got to ask you, talking about Promo Mania, we got to see myself in the shape. We got to see Nicola and Travis. We got to see Moses and Travis. And we got to see you and Nicola. So I got to ask you, what were your thoughts about those last two events?
Man, honestly, having been a part of this almost since the beginning, I think these last couple of events were probably the best, that we've ever seen. Like with the shape, for example, like who knew? Like who thought that he had that in him? Like I watched that thing a couple of times and I was just like, holy crap! I'm glad he's not in the league because he'd freaking destroy us all.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing for me too, is like what I knew what I was doing with the shape, and the shape he brought it. Like I loved what he did from start to finish. I think you could tell with the story that we told. For me, getting all pissed and getting really angry, being vengeful, if you will, from everybody screwing me. I lost both my titles, and I got stripped of everything. Being the point of that, feeling naked without the titles. I think from what we did, we told this story, and we got some darkness involved. Thank you for being in my promo. Thank Nicola for being in it. Ella J, Travis, thank pretty much Ty Emery. This is the first time you guys got to see an LFL All-Star from the Lingerie Football League, Legends Football League, LFC Prospect in it. So we incorporated a lot of elements, man, and it really made it. And of course, my best friend in the world, Steve Nicofor, was in it at the end. So I think for me, I got a little like mini cult action. I got a little vengeful action, a little dark place. And the shape, I'll be honest with you, helped me out with it. And I think we stole the show.
Yeah, definitely not going to argue that. It definitely brought your story full circle, from the beginning to the very end, which, is just going to allow for the next part of your story to be told, when you do come back next year.
Oh, man. I'm just saying, oh, man, because you said next year. Next year, myself and Moses Marquez are going to do it up. And before I get to the other competitors talking about this, now I'll ask you, my fellow promo brother, myself and Moses Marquez, are you intrigued to see what happens? Because like I said, I've been dogging him with his SoundCloud.com for months and making fun. Are you looking forward to seeing what El Jefe, the crippler, Moses Marquez, the individual that he is, does against me? I think a lot of people are expecting me to bring it after you saw that response, and Moses did his response on the AEW review along with Travis. So I got to ask you, are you hooked and invested to see what happens next year? What are your thoughts about that bout so far?
Yeah, you know what? I am pretty intrigued because considering Moses isn't a promo guy, and he's admitted that time and time and time and time again, he took a negative situation that he was in with somebody else in the group and spin it into a positive and created a character. That's how he created the El Jefe character. And just when I saw that and just that first promo that he did, that was to me, that was cool because he took a bad situation and turned it into something good. And just now he has all this time to develop that and kind of fine tune it and, kind of turn it into something, that can be really cool in the next couple of months. So, I'm pretty excited to see how that goes. And then, you're sitting for a whole year, not doing any of this. So, what's Michael going to bring?
Oh,
what does Larkin have planned?
Well, you know me, man. I'm going to get some entertaining. You're going to get something that's very There's going to be a lot of fun. Let's just say it'll be the evolution of Moses Marquez. Kind of, we're going to get an insight of what Moses Marquez is through my eyes, and I'm going to just shoot it to him straight because, we're shooters and we like to shoot. That I mentioned the word shoot. So we're going to see a lot of things incorporated with a lot of elements, and I'm going to show Moses Marquez what's up. That's the best way to say it. Moses Marquez, I'm going to show you what's up. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, he is the top 9%, so he can't lose any more percent points.
Hey man, that's all we're saying is the top 9% put a towel on my head. Just call me Taz. Mr. Beat You If I Can, Survive If I Let You. Moses Marquez. All Moses Marquez now has to do is move from San Diego, move from Go Fuck Yourself San Diego to Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Just another victim, brother. That's all he has to do. Moses Marquez, all you gotta do is start saying brother. Brother.
That's it.
That's it. I tease and I digress, but Moses Marquez, in all seriousness, you better bring your A game come Promo Mania 6 next March in 2020. Now, speaking of Moses Marquez, he's in the top 2 right now. Not the top 9%. I'm talking about the top 2, Robert Davis. As the current rankings are, it is Amir Blackbane Costello, Moses Marquez, Cypher, Travis the Walker Anderson, Brittany Savage, Mike Jolly, The Phoenix, Ted P. Dinero, The Butcher, and newcomer Trippy Wolf. Now, we have seen thus far Amir and Travis do their thing to start off and kick off the league. We have seen Travis and The Phoenix, who's never done a video promo, and I want to touch upon this because The Phoenix, in his first actual video promo, I was shocked, and he killed it.
Yes, me too. I had heard about his character, the Demon of the West Valley. So I was kind of intrigued to see, what that was about. And, I thought he had a very, very, very good introduction video because he's unknown to all of us pretty much. And to see what he can do and what he can possibly bring, that's going to be definitely something. They even talked about some dream matches. Him versus the Demoness,
Yep.
Him versus me. What's that going to be like?
Oh, dude, I'm hooked, man, and I am invested in that. Now, for me, the other battle we had was Cypher and Mike Jolly. Like, I enjoyed both. Cypher's a number 3, but you guys got to see. Now, I know Mike Jolly, fellow LFC fan, fellow podcaster, host of the Washington Wrestle Talk podcast. Does a lot of great work with the Session community and the Sessions wrestling. So I got to ask you, Heavy Metal Jesus, the oddity that is Mike Jolly, thoughts on his first bout?
I enjoyed it. As you know, I'm very partial to the dark characters.
Yup.
So, I was hooked into that. That was also the first kind of real promo that I've seen from Mike Jolly. So, there's definitely something there. And as kind of things go on, definitely, I think he's definitely going to be a contender. Same thing with Cypher. He kind of took a different approach to his character. His first bout with the Demoness, we saw a battle of, good versus evil, and he definitely stepped outside of the box, and he definitely brought it. Wasn't enough, but he definitely brought it, and he has something there.
He does. I think each and everybody in this group, including Ted P. Dinero, before I even ask you about Travis the Walker Anderson and your little challenge there, sir, I got to say this. Are you looking forward to seeing Ted P. Dinero in action first against newcomer Trippy Wolf, fellow rapper, fellow musician, friends with one Cypher? What do you think about Trippy Wolf, the addition to him, and him going against Ted P. Dinero? Ted P. Dinero, also a rapper.
Trippy Wolf is a character, man. He's definitely a character all on his own. So I think that'll be definitely different. And Ted P. Dinero is the original heel, and I think he's looking to bring it too. So that should be pretty good.
And of course, right now the number 1 contender, Amir Blackbane Costello. You want to say anything about Amir? Go right ahead.
Amir. He's only number 1 contender because, I didn't start the league out when the league started. So.
Oh, man, I cannot wait to see who you challenge. Now, I'm going to say this right now before we get into Travis. You were talking about Brittany Savage, and we were talking about her thing. Man, I would love to see you and Brittany kind of do something. I don't know if Brittany can get to that dark side. Like when I discussed with her the last time on the last show, I'm like, Brittany, you going to challenge you in her dark side? Because, dude, we haven't even seen a female bout yet. Like Brittany Savage against the Demoness, each and every one of these guys and gals against the Demoness. Like for me, I'm curious to see if Brittany could go to that dark side because you two got your little darkness going on.
Yeah, the wheels were definitely turning with that one. I think, somewhere down the road, Brittany Savage and myself, and even the Demoness. That's the Demoness versus Brittany Savage. That's inevitable. That's definitely going to happen. But the wheels were definitely turning for that one. That one may have to be a different approach.
Well, this brings us to Travis the Walker Anderson, the former promo champion, who you have challenged 2 out of 3 falls. You want the final fall to take place at Trivia Takeover, which as of right now, the card for the Max Wrestling Special is the Demoness defending the promo title against Amir Blackbane Costello, who is currently at number 1. But then again, things can change within 1 month's time. We have Moses Marquez defending the Moses. I pitted the Moses. Anyway, I digress. The Knowledge Championship is on the line. Moses Marquez defends against former Knowledge champions Kenny Killa and Phoenix, Ella J of a Wrestling Gal podcast, and now Travis the Walker Anderson. So those are Moses' challenges, and I'm going to say this to you as we are recording this yesterday. Moses Marquez just became Knowledge champion, for his 100th day. Do you see Moses Marquez retaining the Knowledge Championship on that end? I know you're more the promo guy, but from the knowledge standpoint and the overall mindset going into the Trivia Challenge, do you see Moses Marquez retaining the Knowledge Championship?
Nope. He got lucky.
So, short and to the point. Thank you, Robert Davis. So, well, his first bout was also a draw with the Phoenix at Promo Mania. So, all right, now out of the few, who you picking, man? So we're doing early predictions here too. Are you going with Kenny Killa, the former Knowledge champ, the inaugural Knowledge champ, the Phoenix, Ella J of a Wrestling Gal, or are you going to go with Travis?
I'm definitely going with Kenny Killa. I've listened back to some of what Kenny Killa has done, and I think he's going to do it, man.
Me too.
I'm a Kenny guy.
Put it on a t-shirt. I'm a Kenny guy too. One of my greatest rivals in the trivia game, and if Kenny Killa does wound up with the victory, first ever 3-time Knowledge champion.
That'll be something.
I cannot wait. I mean, Trivia Takeover is always a fun event, but for you, sir, we're talking about Travis the Walker Anderson, and you, like the other bout last year, besides the fact that we had seen the Knowledge title, we had Lewis against Amir with the control of RWT storyline coming into fruition. Now we got you and Travis the Walker Anderson, which has yet to be made official, but I'm sure it's going to be official very, very soon. So for you, all right, now Travis the Walker Anderson, ever since he beat me at the Maxis, ending my reign after... You know what it is for me, again? It's going from the chase to winning the title from me after what had happened after months going against me. And like I said, and I've always said this, and I'm not shit-talking him, I think him and I always had great chemistry because we're both young, we're both passionate, we're both hungry, and I think we entertained the people. Is that a fair assessment? Would you say you were entertained with the people?
Yeah. I'd say that's a very fair assessment.
Okay.
It was very entertaining.
Cool. So this is where I go with this. Travis beats me. He has the bout with Moses Marquez at Podcast Promo Rumble 5, which was what it was. We saw the debut of El Jefe, Travis running down Moses. They both worked hard, and that was the end of their chapter in their rivalry, which started from the 9% statistic and percentage. So then we get to the bout with Nicola, and I got to say, it could have gone either way, and I told Travis this. I said, both of you guys hit it out of the park, and you both delivered. But Nicola McDonald, a.k.a. the Demoness, is now the current champion, or the promo championship, the first ever female promo champion, ending Travis's reign at 102 days. And the Phoenix, I don't even have to say it because the Phoenix said it in his promo against it. Travis, you are the shortest reigning promo champion. I am the shortest reigning Knowledge champion. So they both got nothing left to lose. They are desperate times called from desperate measure. Desperate. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I look at it like this, as I'm getting a little tongue-tied here, as I'm about to take a sip at H2O. So really doesn't know. Just kidding. One of those things I look at is you have Travis the Walker Anderson. He's coming on all cylinders, taking on the Phoenix, taking on Amir. I want to ask you, what were your thoughts about him challenging him? We're going to get it this week, but him challenging Brittany Savage just like that, right out the gate, man.
Well, if I can break kayfabe here for a moment. Travis is a workhorse. He's definitely got something to prove, He's putting in a lot of work, and, you have to admire that. Somebody that has the passion, has the drive, who wants to, work hard and put out a good product and, show everybody what he's capable of. Can't be mad at that. Not at all.
Now, for you, him challenging Brittany Savage, and what can you expect, or what do you think we're going to see from Travis going against Brittany Savage this week? Because I'm intrigued. I've seen her promo already, but I just got to wait for his because, as you know, I'm a judge, so we got to call it right down the middle, play it fair. What Brittany brought in the 2 minutes that she did is absolutely fire. So I'm kind of curious just to see how he approaches this.
Much respect for being the first one to call her out. I will give him that. But if I could sum it up in 3 letters, it would probably be R.I.P.
There you go. Okay. And again, loving Travis for what he's doing with the retro crew, with Moses Marquez, and the podcasting front, man. He's doing his thing on Max and My Hiatus. Like, for me, I'm loving the fact that Travis is finding himself from the promo standpoint, from the podcasting standpoint. So I got to ask you, challenging Travis and what to expect going forward.
Yeah, well, before, Promo Mania, and he did make the declaration that he didn't care about losing the title, that he just wanted me. So, as you know, I didn't respond right away. I just kind of let it sit for a couple weeks. Yep. Then, as you know, things started to get kind of crazy, and then, I kind of went silent for a while. But, as things kind of did get better, and, I'll give the man what he wants. But I'm, like I said, I'll make it worth his while. We can have some fun. We can do the first of something. I don't think there's ever been a 2 out of 3 falls match yet. So that's, he can put that feather in his cap. There's he doesn't have too many feathers in that cap. However, my hat's kind of full of feathers. Multiple RWT award winner. First for this, first for that. I've done quite a bit, and like I said, I was kind of happy with everything that's kind of gone on with what I've done with promos, and I was ready to be a part-time guy and step back and here and there, but I have to come back, and I have to do this. So.
I cannot wait to see what we have with those 2 out of 3 falls. And for me, you mentioned being a part-timer. I love sitting back. I love judging now what I'm doing. And for me, I'll be honest with you, week after week, it could kind of get a little, I'll be honest with you, you get burned out with doing a lot of these promos. But I got to say, I look forward to seeing you getting into the fray. I look forward to doing my thing next year with Moses. I think each and every one in this group, this promo league, is going to deliver. And I'm excited to see what comes of it. Now, the only other thing I'd like to mention is if you actually look at Travis's resume, and this is actually funny. So promo series last year, he took on Andre Corbeil, who not just being someone who's in the wrestling industry from like a journalistic perspective, Bill Apter, trained by Bill Apter, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, worked with Vince Russo, Hart Family Legacy, the Hart Wrestling Legacy ring. Like, for someone who has that knowledge of professional wrestling, then he's going against Brittany Savage. Like, he's gotten against 2 people that are actually been involved in the industry.
Yeah, and you can't hate him for that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean he's got something to prove, and he's going out there doing it. So to that I applaud.
Oh, me too. And I'll be honest with you, him and Andre did their thing at promo series, and now Brittany Savage is coming for him this week. You missed her with your little thing. You got a Savage problem on your hands. I heard what you said, Robert Davis. So I like this little tie-in there. But yeah, man, just stay tuned to what we got with the promo league. Yeah, I was going to say if you have any other challenges, but then I realized that it's just you and Travis for a bit. So yeah, you sly dog. But yeah, no, but I look forward to the next challenge in the promo league, which after Brittany and Trav will be Trippy Wolf and Ted P. De Niro. I'm sure Moses is going to have something to say. I'm going to see more from Cypher. We're going to see something from each and everybody in the promo league. And I wanted to tie this in because, I mean, we touched upon Secret Window, which this episode was about, but I wanted to incorporate this because what's great about this is I think you could tell from myself, from everybody, we can incorporate a lot of artistic expression through pop culture, through movies, and we can incorporate that within our overall verbiage and our promos and the overall art form that it is. I think it's pretty cool, you know what I'm saying? Because you could take that influence from Johnny Depp as Shooter, and I could take these pop culture references and make the nostalgia and really resonate, as we all do, with the people. So I think that's a great tie-in.
Yeah, I think that's just the main thing about any form of art, just kind of developing a connection, being able to connect with somebody on a level that goes beyond physical, but emotional and mentally being able to connect. I think that's a really special thing, and we've definitely got something good going here.
Agreed, my friend. And last thing I'll say before I have you promote the social medias, Showdown in the Shadows Part 3, Robert Davis and the Demoness.
It's funny that you mentioned that because we did talk about the possibility of that ever happening again. And, she's game for it. And, of course I am too. It'll just be a matter of trying to outdo what we did the first 2 times.
Yeah, that's why I said to her, like, because it's funny because you and I have the most, I'll be honest with you, we all have chemistry, but I think you and I have had the biggest chemistry with one demoness I come to caress. I will take your soul and put you in a hole. Because it's one of those things where, like, going into that dark frame of mind, going into that dark mindset, like, I'll be honest with you, I cannot outdo what we did last October, last Halloween. And besides, I'll be honest with you, I barely survived hell, sir. I like to keep my soul for right now.
Yeah, I mean, it can be collected at some point. I've got a guy for that, so.
Well, hey, stop planting the seeds. We'll see what happens in the future. I'm trying to keep my soul right now. I'm just watching. I'm a judge. You know what I'm saying? I'm just an advocate. I'm just a judge. Robert Davis, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Dude, we got to do another one of these, and we'll shoot the breeze some more. I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, no problem. It's been fun. If you want to look for me on Facebook, it's facebook.com/RobertD85. Instagram, it's R_D01. Twitter, I'm not on that very much, but it's RobbieD427.
All right. Those will be in the descriptions. And do you want to plug any of your music as well?
Since we're here, I don't see why not.
Come on, Robert.
You can find my band Grave to Fire, facebook.com/Grave to Fire 638. My other band Consuming Fire, /Consuming Fire 638 as well. Same handles on Instagram and Twitter.
Links will be in the description. Check out the group, man, because y'all have some great music. There's a lot of great artistic expression, a lot of great flow from the rock nostalgia point. For me, I love it. Keep doing what you're doing on the music front, Robert.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. So for Robert Davis, my name is Mike Larkin. This concludes another edition of the Pop Culture History Podcast, talking some Secret Window, talking the Promo League, and talking about how promos and overall pop culture really tie in and correlate. My name is Mike Larkin, and we'll talk to you next episode. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.